Are we live? Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, and it is February 7th, 2023. Here we go again, I hope. Oh, as you can tell, I'm on live late because the internet is going in and out, not on my phone, but on the laptop. So I couldn't even get started. And according to my top here, it's saying I shouldn't have internet. But are you able to see me? I kind of feel like it's a battle of Satan against God. And Satan's trying to take me down. But God is, of course, going to win the battle. So please let me know if I'm on because right now, yes, we can see you. Because there, now the internet says I'm up. This is a battle this morning. I don't know what the deal is because if I look at my phone, the internet has stayed in the whole time, but it's going in and out. And so I was trying to set the channel up and it kept saying no internet, no internet, no internet. Then I look at my phone and there's internet. So I was trying to figure out how to do the message onto my phone. And I thought for a second there, I was just going to have to jump on Facebook and say, hey, good morning, everyone. I know I said we're on YouTube now, but I got to go on Facebook because I can't get a message to come up. Technology, isn't it supposed to be so awesome? It's supposed to be so awesome, isn't it? Kathy, I know it's a struggle. Hey, I got to say, good morning, Bible Blues Brother Scott. You found us this morning. He had a work meeting yesterday, but he was also having a hard time finding us. Did you make sure? Let's see while we have an opportunity here. I forgot to mention this yesterday. You need to make sure you like this video. I can see right now that nobody has liked the video because the more likes the video gets, the more it seems to get out there. And then, of course, subscribe, which we are now up to 12 people. 12 subscribers. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Are we going for like 20 this year now? Because I said it'd be good if we got to 10. Well, we got to 10 and not only 10, but we're now at 12. So let's hit the ceiling and go for 20. Yeah, you got to make sure you select all notifications. And then what'll happen is you'll be notified when we go live. Isn't that awesome? Whenever I may choose to go on, whether it be at 7 o'clock or 7:02, or maybe on Saturday night at 8 p.m. Who knows? But you can come and see, and you'll get the notification whenever this channel goes live. If you subscribe and select all videos. There you go. So like, share, comment, subscribe. I don't know. Whatever you got to do. Good morning, my Blues Brother Scott. Good morning, Miss Jackie. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Tommy. And good morning, Kathy. Yes, it's Jesus about time. Yeah. if if you knew the battle I was going through, it was Satan against God this morning. And I thought for a second there Satan might win, but you know what? In the end, God did prevail. And he got us on here because I surely wasn't going to be the one to get us on here because I was struggling. But we are here and it's another day. And sorry, as I do some housekeeping here because in all the chaos, I didn't get a chance to look for our message today. Because, of course, that is where we like to start. So let me get to that. And here we are. I am there. As we awaken, pause and breathe in God and his love and grace. Wish good morning to the world around us. Don't miss out on the opportunity to experience happiness and joy. Just stop and enjoy it. If just stop and enjoy it, we each other. There's I'm getting caught in a loop here. Let me go back and I will read the sentence and then see if it makes any more sense the second time around. Do not miss out on the opportunity to experience happiness and joy. Just stop and enjoy it. We each other, maybe with each other. Maybe that would make more sense. We each can make that choice. Many of us share an affliction, being driven by something we can't control. We are afraid of being still. We seek out strife, busyness, and action as a distraction. When we live life like this, we miss out on the peace and joy of spending quiet time with God and loving family and others. Each day, we can make a difference in someone else's life just by caring, helping them, and giving them love and kindness. If we want joy and happiness in life, we need to be a donor of love to God, to others, and the world around us. Today, we can move our hearts closer to God, being thankful to Him and seeking His forgiveness, trusting in His will for us. Let us deepen our relationship with God by consistently reading His Word, letting His Word inspire us, teach us, and I would add in, lead us. Let us make space in our lives for God, spending time sharing with Him, praying to Him, thanking Him, seeking His forgiveness, trusting Him and His will for us. Be grateful in life. Don't complain and accept life as God has provided for us. Seek to dwell in God's presence, experience in His love and grace, and having His peace and joy in our entire being. Enjoy the light of life that God provides us. Be in awe of His love and grace. Be joyful in the present moment, knowing that God's infinite joy is with us. Enjoy today. Don't worry about life. God is taking care of us. Let our minds be focused on the mystery of the oneness with God. Keep life simple and be full of joy, peace, and love. God's blessings on your day. Much love to each of you. Isn't that an awesome message for today? We must keep our focus on Him, along with the promises He has for us going forward. I'll move it a little bit there because He has great promises. But sometimes what we do is we get focused on what's going on in this world. And if we spend too much time focusing on what's going on in this world, it can drive us mad. Literally and figuratively. In every way possible, this world can drive us mad, angry, frustrated, confused. But yet, if we focus on God, His Word, the relationship, the promises, what is to come, we will overcome everything that the world is trying to do to take us down. Sometimes when we just try to fill our lives with busyness, what we really need to do is just be still and be still with Him. All right, there's the message. Let's get to the weather. Got to get the phone back out. Chief Meteorologist Miss Marsha provides the weather forecast For today, Des Moines, 42, partly cloudy, 11-mile-an-hour winds. West Des Moines, 42, partly cloudy, 12-mile-an-hour winds. Waukee, 40, partly cloudy, 12-mile-an-hour winds. Council Bluffs, 47, sunny, 7-mile-an-hour winds. Pleasant Hill, 42, partly cloudy, 10-mile-an-hour winds. Altoona, 41, partly cloudy, 11-mile-an-hour winds. Dubuque, 38, partly cloudy, 14-mile-an-hour winds. Monticello and Dave, 38, partly cloudy, and 12-mile-an-hour winds. KC, part of the Sunshine Band is out today. They're not coming out full force. Hopefully KC shows up anyway. 52, mostly sunny, 7-mile-an-hour winds, and 4. But as we know, it's always 4 after work. Work must come first, right, Scott? Dixon, 39, partly cloudy, 14-mile-an-hour winds. Waxhaw, 66, partly cloudy, just 1-mile-an-hour wind in Waxhaw. And Sierra Vista, 54, sunny, 7-mile-an-hour winds. And Texas Tommy, 74. He wins the temperature wars today, but he has to battle thunderstorms and 10-mile-an-hour winds. And there you go. Have a great day, everyone. And that is your weather forecast brought to you by Chief Meteorologist Miss Marsha. Let's get to story time. The Book of Amazing Stories. We had time for 2 yesterday. We'll have to see how our time is today. So, oh boy, here's a good story for us today. Today, for Tuesday, February 7th, the River of Doubt. He had just suffered one of those rare defeats in his charmed life. At times like this, he had always turned to the big adventure as his therapy. So he organized a trip down the Amazon River. Maybe an overweight man of 54 was foolish to challenge a monstrous river largely unexplored in 1913. But danger had always been Ted's drug of choice. So he used his fortune and charm to put together a first-class team of intrepid explorers and headed off to South America. It didn't take long for Ted's party to realize that they were in over their heads. They had hoped to live off the land, but jungles know how to hide their bounty from intruders. Soon their food supplies were dangerously low. Then they lost a couple of canoes on a murderous stretch of rapids. As always, Ted played the hero. He pushed, paddled, pulled, and shoved as he rescued the canoes. When his leg was torn open, his exhausted party pulled him out of the rapids. Ted was in excruciating pain, but he refused to show it. What was a nasty gash to a man who had chased outlaws in the America West, faced down elephants in Africa, charged into cannon fire, been hit by a streetcar, and been shot in the chest by a deranged man? Yet he was no match for the deadly jungle microbes. By morning, he was burning up with fever and desperately needed to get to a doctor. But the rapids were impassable. If they were going to survive, they would have to hack their way through the thick jungle. Yet the man who always led the charge says he was too weak to go on. In a nearby bag was a vial of morphine. Ted would rather end things quickly than suffer an agonizing death. He was on the verge of breaking open that vial when his son Kermit figured out an ingenious way to get their canoes past the rapids. Maybe he shouldn't have tackled the Amazon after he lost the presidential election of 1912. But Teddy Roosevelt thrived on big challenges. Did you know it was Teddy Roosevelt? His courage and optimism in the face of extreme danger was the stuff of legend. The war hero who became America's youngest president and won the Nobel Peace Prize was bigger than life. When he passed away in his sleep 5 years after his trip down the Amazon, his former vice president quipped, "Death had to take him sleeping, for if Roosevelt had been awake, there would have been a fight." No one would have believed there was a day in the Amazon jungles when he was minutes away from giving up the fight. Maybe you are on your own river of doubt today. Before you give up, remember that Kermit, that's not Kermit the Frog. Kermit figured out a way to get around those impassable rapids just before his dad broke open that vial of morphine. There's always a solution if you hold on. Teddy Roosevelt would say, "Bully to this. A setback is often a setup for your comeback." And then the reading for today, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless. That's 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58. There you go. And that is your story time for today. Could you imagine? That was Theodore Roosevelt, one of our former presidents, out on the Amazon. Wow. I won't say anything else. I could go a lot of different directions, but I won't. Anyway, the best thing to do is probably at this point is just to go ahead and get into the reading for today. We begin in Old Testament reading, Exodus chapter 26, verse 1. Make the tabernacle from 10 curtains of finely woven linen. Decorate the curtains with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and with skillfully embroidered cherubim. These 10 curtains must all be exactly the same size. Again, we got to remember this is the Lord speaking to Moses. 42 feet long and 6 feet wide. The detail. Join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain, then join the other 5 into a second long curtain. Put loops of blue yarn along the edge of the last curtain in each set. The 50 loops along the edge of one curtain are to match the 50 loops along the edge of the other curtain. Then make 50 gold clasps and fasten long curtains together with the clasps. In this way, the tabernacle will be made of one continuous piece. Make 11 curtains of goat hair cloth to serve as a tent covering for the tabernacle. These 11 curtains must all be exactly the same size, 45 feet long and 6 feet wide. Join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain and join the other 6 into a second long curtain. Allow 3 feet of material from the second set of curtains to hang over the front of the sacred tent. Make 50 loops for one edge of each large curtain. Then make 50 bronze clasps and fasten the loops of the long curtains with the clasps. In this way, the tent covering will be made of one continuous piece. The remaining 3 feet of this tent covering will be left to hang over the back of the tabernacle. Allow 18 inches of remaining material to hang down over each side so the tabernacle is completely covered. Complete this tent covering with a protective layer of tanned ram skins and a layer of fine goat skin leather. For the framework of the tabernacle, construct frames of acacia wood. Each frame must be 15 feet high, and 27 inches wide, with 2 pegs under each frame. Make all the frames identical. Make 20 of these frames to support the curtains on the south side of the tabernacle. Also, make 40 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame, with pegs fitting securely into the bases. For the north side of the tabernacle, make another 20 frames with their 40 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame. Make 6 frames for the rear, the west side of the tabernacle, along with the additional frames to reinforce the rear corners of the tabernacle. These corner frames will be matched at the bottom and firmly attached at the top with a single ring, forming a single corner unit. Make both of these corner units the same way. So there will be 8 frames at the rear of the tabernacle, set in 16 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame. Make crossbars of acacia wood to link the frames, 5 crossbars for the north side of the tabernacle and 5 for the south side. Also make 5 crossbars for the rear of the tabernacle, which will face west. The middle crossbar, attached halfway up the frames, will run all the way from one end of the tabernacle to the other. Overlay the frames with gold and make gold rings to hold the crossbars. Overlay the crossbars with gold as well. Set up this tabernacle according to the pattern you were shown on the mountain. For the inside of the tabernacle, make a special curtain of finely woven linen. Decorate it with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and with skillfully embroidered cherubim. Hang this curtain on gold hooks attached to 4 posts of acacia wood. Overlay the posts with gold and set them in 4 silver bases. Hang the inner curtain from clasps and put the Ark of the Covenant in the room behind it. This curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. So you have the holy place and the most holy place. Then put the ark's cover, the place of atonement, on top of the Ark of the Covenant inside the most holy place. Place the table outside the inner curtain on the north side of the tabernacle and place the lampstand across the room on the south side. Make another curtain for the entrance to the sacred tent. Make it of finely woven linen and embroider it with exquisite designs using blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Craft 5 posts from acacia wood. Overlay them with gold and hang the curtain from them with gold hooks. Cast 5 bronze bases for the posts. Using acacia wood, construct a square altar 7.5 feet wide, 7.5 feet long, and 4.5 feet high. Make horns for each of its 4 corners so that the horns and altar are all one piece. Overlay the altar with bronze. Make ash buckets, shovels, basins, meat forks, and fire pans, all of bronze. Make a bronze grating for it and attach 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. Install the grating halfway down the side of the altar under the ledge. For carrying the altar, make poles from acacia wood and overlay them with bronze. Insert the poles through the rings on the 2 sides of the altar. The altar must be hollow, made from planks. Build it just as you were shown on the mountain. Then make the courtyard for the tabernacle enclosed with curtains made of finely woven linen. On the south side, make the curtains 150 feet long. They will be held up by 20 posts securely in 20 bronze bases. Hang the curtains with silver hooks and rings. Make the curtains the same on the north side, 150 feet of curtains held up by 20 posts set securely in bronze bases. Hang the curtains with silver hooks and rings. The curtains on the west end of the courtyard will be 75 feet long, supported by 10 posts set into 10 bases. The east end of the courtyard, the front, will also be 75 feet long, a rectangle, you could say. The courtyard entrance will be on the east side, flanked by 2 curtains. The curtain on the right side will be 22 and a half feet long, supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. The curtain on the left side will also be 22 and a half feet long, supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. For the entrance to the courtyard, make a curtain that is 30 feet long. Make it from finely woven linen and decorate it with beautiful embroidery in blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Support it with 4 posts, each securely set in its own base. All the posts around the courtyard must have silver rings and hooks and bronze bases. So the entire courtyard will be 150 feet long, 75 feet wide, with curtain walls 7.5 feet high, made from finely woven linen. The base for the posts will be made of bronze. All the articles used in the rituals of the tabernacle, including the tent pegs used to support the tabernacle and the courtyard curtains, must be made of bronze. Command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually. The lampstand will stand in the tabernacle in front of the inner curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant. Aaron and his sons must keep the lamps burning in the Lord's presence all night. This is a permanent law for the people of Israel, and it must be observed from generation to generation. And there you go. That is your Old Testament reading for today. We move on into New Testament reading, and we continue on in Matthew chapter 25, verse 1. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps. Look, we just got to talk about lampstands. And here we go. Took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The 5 who were foolish didn't take enough olive oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, they were roused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming. Come out and meet him." All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. Then the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough oil for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the bridegroom came. Then those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was locked. Later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he called back, "Believe me, I don't know you. So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or hour of my return." Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. And some of you may say, That doesn't seem fair. Why did he give 5 to one, 2 to another, and only 1 to still another? You may think it's not fair that it seems like some people have more abilities than other, but it comes down to using the abilities that God has given you, how many he may have given you. You make best use of the abilities because each one of us have abilities, gifts, talents that God has put into us. Make the best use of what we have been given and not find ourselves complaining about, well, I don't have as many as this other person. Because the thing is that while you might be complaining about how you don't have as many as someone else might be complaining about the fact that they don't have as many as you have. There's probably people that have more, there's people that have less. Make best use of what you have. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. And so it's kind of like our talents. Are we making best use of our talents? Or are we just kind of more or less burying them? After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned you 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. Look at that. So for you reading this story, you're thinking, well, geez, he had 5 bags. That's a lot. But you see, did you catch that? It says, you have been faithful in handling this small amount. So to God, even the 5 bags was a small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I earned you 2 more. He didn't say, well, geez, the first guy gave me, he gave me 5 more, and you only gave me 2 more. Why didn't you give me 5 more as well? As when he said, is it? He said, the master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. So, as we do what he calls us to do, and we make use of the talents he has given us, what does it say? He will give us more responsibilities. So, if we want more responsibilities, if we want to do more for the kingdom of God, then let's do what he's putting on our plate to begin with. Not hanging out and saying, well, I'm going to wait until he gives me a bigger job to do. Maybe his job for today is, I want you to go open that door and just give a pleasant greeting to the person that is coming to the door. And you say, well, no, that doesn't seem like a big enough responsibility. Give me something harder. But all he's doing is saying, go open that door for someone. Give them a greeting. Give them a good morning. We don't know what may be going on in that person's life. Maybe right now they're down and out and not trusting people. That people, they're looking at the news of this world and they're saying there ain't no good people out there. And then all of a sudden you come on the spot. You go open the door for someone, and all of a sudden they say, well, take that back. You know, I was thinking there were no good people out there. You know what? I guess I was wrong because here's one good person right here. The person that just opened the door and gave me a greeting. And you did what God called you to do in that moment. And as you do the small things, they lead to bigger things. Then the servant with the one bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. Can you imagine talking to God like that? Oh boy. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back. But the master replied, You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. Then he ordered, Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Make best use of the gifts, the talents that God has given you. And as you make the best use of them, you will be given credit by God. He will smile down on you. And what he does is he gives you more. We're on this journey. And as we're on this journey, we grow, we learn, we acquire more. That's pretty cool. Psalm 31, verse 1. O Lord, I have come to you for protection. Don't let me be disgraced. Save me, for you do what is right. Turn your ear to listen to me. Rescue me quickly. Be my rock of protection, a fortress where I will be safe. You are my rock and my fortress. For the honor of your name, lead me out of this danger. Pull me from the trap my enemies set for me, for I find protection in you alone. I entrust my spirit into your hand. Rescue me, Lord, for you are a faithful God. I hate those who worship worthless idols. I trust in the Lord. I will be glad and rejoice in your unfailing love, for you have seen my troubles, and you care about the anguish of my soul. You have not handed me over to my enemies, but you have set me in a safe place. Proverbs 8, verses 1 through 11. Listen as wisdom calls out. Hear as understanding raises her voice. On the hilltop along the road, she takes her stand at the crossroads. By the gates of the entrance of the town, on the road leading in, she cries aloud. I called to all of you. I raise my voice to all people. You simple people, use good judgment. You foolish people, show some understanding. Listen to me, for I have important things to tell you. Everything I say is right, for I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception. My advice is wholesome. There is nothing devious or crooked in it. My words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. Wisdom is greater than anything we can possess on this earth. And that gets us to the end of our readings for today. And I do believe I have time left. Am I not right? Because I haven't seen 7:45 yet. So that means I think we've got time for one more story. Let's open up the book of amazing stories. And of course, we can't read today's story because we've already done that. Let's read this one. The Irresistible Power of Courage. Winter blew frigid cold across the plains of Armenia. Yet while locals shivered before their fires, legionnaires marched into the maelstrom of icy winds. Theirs was the famous Legio 12 Fulminata. I don't know. The Thundering Legion. These elite stormtroopers had carried black shields, each emblazoned with a lightning bolt across the world to form a wall between Rome and invading Persians. But a more insidious danger faced decaying Rome: the rise of Christianity. So a frightened emperor decreed that his legions sacrifice to pagan gods. When his orders were delivered to the Thundering Legion, 4 legionnaires refused. Their superiors angrily responded, "You alone of all Caesar's troops defy him. Think of the disgrace you bring upon your legion." They replied, "To disgrace the name of our Lord Jesus Christ is more terrible still." The 40 were dragged to flogging posts and beaten with whips. When they didn't break, they were flayed with hooks. When they still refused to deny Christ, their commanding general ordered them stripped naked and taken onto the ice-covered lake. On a bitter winter's day in AD 320, they joyfully stripped off their clothes and ran out onto the ice. Their commander ordered rubs of heated water placed on the banks of the lake to entice them to give up. But the freezing Christians prayed, "Lord, there are 40 of us engaged in this battle. Grant that 40 may be crowned, and not one will be missing from this sacred number." It seemed that 40 would stay true until one broke from their ranks and stumbled to shore. Yet when he was eased into the warm bath, the shock caused his body to go into death convulsions. There was only 39 when a sentry, impressed by their bravery, stripped off his uniform and ran naked onto the ice. Again, there were 40. The next morning, the general ordered that their frozen bodies be burned and the ashes scattered on a nearby river. His legionnaires were shocked to find one still alive. His mother, who was among the camp followers, was summoned to convince this solitary survivor to recant. To everyone's surprise, she begged her son to stay true to the end, and he was burned alive with the corpses. The 40 martyrs of Sebasti tell an enduring story of the irresistible power of courage. A pagan legionnaire turned to Christ after one of those Christians came off the ice, then stripped naked to join them. A survivor was willing to be burned to death to keep that number intact. 4 years later, Constantine I executed the Caesar who had ordered these sacrifices. Sickened by pagan barbarity and impressed by the faith of martyrs like those at Sebasti, Constantine made Christianity the favored religion of Rome. Some 2,960 legionnaires followed orders that winter day, but 40 did the right thing. Today, you may be tempted to cave into pressure and violate your conscience. Don't you dare. The 40 martyrs of Sebasti teach us that a single act of bravery can even change the course of history. Courage inspires and ignites a spark of bravery in those watching. Fear not, you will no longer live in shame. Don't be afraid. There is no more disgrace for you. Isaiah 54, verse 4. That was a good story, was it not? Are you enjoying the short stories? And I thank you. There has now been 2 likes to this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know, can I like it? No, I can't hit like. I'm in the studio. Apparently, you can't hit like while you're on live. I just thought I would try and see. Oh, anyway, thank you. Oh, now that we got 6. Oh, we got 6 on and 3 likes. So somebody hit the like because it wasn't me. Though I tried to hit it, it didn't work, but it helped somebody to hit it. Again, the more we get this video liked, shared, the more it can get out there because this message is important to everyone. And isn't that what we're supposed to do? Is share the good news. Let's wrap up today with a prayer for this Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. It reads, a broken doll, a stick to scrawl in sun-scorched dirt, a soccer ball of rags and twine. These pass for toys in refugee camps or temporary shelters where Christian families have been displaced by extremist groups, hostile governments, or others who oppose their faith. Yet, even in such stark conditions, there's play, laughter, and joy. Yet, even, I read that. They are not alone or forgotten. God sees them and holds them close. Lord, you care about the anguish of my persecuted Christian family. May their joy glorify you and amaze those who see it shining in dark places. May that joy draw people to you. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. There's the key at the end. May their joy, may your joy glorify him and amaze those who see it. That's what it all comes down to. What are we doing What are you doing to glorify God? What are you doing to shine the light of truth, His truth? Go out there and shine your light so that it brings others to wondering with amazement, how are you so calm? How are you so full of peace and joy? Do you not watch the news? Don't you see what's going on in this world? How can you be so filled with peace and joy? Because once they ask, they've opened the door for you to provide the answer. Isn't it amazing how sometimes you try to share the truth, you try to share in light, and people just aren't receptive, they're not listening? Sometimes we just have to wait for them to recognize, to ask the question. Because once they ask the question, you have a captive audience. You have someone that is going to wait and listen for the answer. Sometimes, unfortunately, we just aren't able to share our answer until we're asked the question. That's when we have the captive audience because it's them asking. And then all we're doing is simply giving the answer. You ask the question, here is the answer. Isn't that wonderful? In the meantime, just continue to be what I call the hospital on the hill. Like the hospital on the hill, and especially a guy like me. You know what? I don't like going to the hospital, but you know what? If I need to go, I know where it's at. And much to say for we being the like the hospital on the hill. If we are full of peace and joy, if we keep our focus on God and his truth, then what's going to happen is that when people need God, they're going to find their way to you. It's so amazing because when I began my journey on 2014, and prior to that, I had started working at the law firm in let me think here, 2005, which is well before 2014. And so when I was working there in 2005, I still a lot of anger, which was really frustration manifesting into anger, pounding my fist on the table, saying words that I just wouldn't even think about saying anymore. And people just being afraid of me at times, especially when my anger was boiling, or like I said, my frustration. And then what happened is 2014 came and I became a different person. All of a sudden, the people who were once afraid of me were all of a sudden coming to me and asking me to pray, maybe for them or their kids, or maybe their husband is going through a procedure. All of a sudden, the people who were once very afraid of me because fist pounding, saying you all the bad words, I knew the vocabulary. I could cuss like a sailor. And then all of a sudden, they are coming to me asking me to pray. They saw what was going on. And that's what we must do. We provide the example. We live the way that he wants us to live. We know that when we fall short, which we will, that we go to him in repentance and asking forgiveness. And when we shine our light Not everybody's going to say, oh, wow. But like I said, when you shine your light, there will come a moment in somebody's life in which they will say, tell me about how this goes. How do you have such peace and calm in such a crazy world? And that opens the door for you to share the truth, to share your testimony, and to demonstrate to others that there could be a change in them because there was a change that came in you. That's powerful. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day. And God willing, we'll be back with you again come tomorrow morning. Until then.